Okay, so now we're going to come to something called string formatting. We're covering this early in the class, and the main reason we're covering this early in the class is because I want you to use it in your applications. You can use it to produce nicer looking, easier to read stuff in your applications so that your users have a better experience. And since we're talking about user experience all the time in software development, that's important. So there are two methods of formatting strings. I'm going to suggest that one is superior to the other, but I'm also going to teach you both of them because you'll see them out in the wild meaning if you are looking up documents or you're looking at other people's code. I want you to be able to understand what it is that's going on. So string formatting using the format method. Okay, that's another string method. So we have a string object and then dot format. It allows you to insert variables into text. It avoids some data type conflicts, and it allows you to format strings on the fly. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if I have a name as a string and an integer that is my age, and I want to print those out, using this method is okay. This is not going to go well for me because you cannot add an integer to a string. Now, I could convert it. I could just say str age equals string int age. Oops, I don't need to type all that out. Str for string. And that will convert it to a string, and then I can put it here. Okay. I could do that, and it works, but that's not practical to do that every time I want to print out something that's not a string as part of a string. So what I could do is I could approach this differently using format. And the way that looks is I might have some text that says name is okay, so there's my text. And what you'll notice is that I put a couple of placeholders in here. And those placeholders obviously correspond to these two variables. And so what I would want to do if I want to print that out is I would say print, because string methods are return something, so I have to do something with it. Print str text dot format, and then I have to tell it which things to put in which slot. So I'm going to say this. So I'm printing out and I'm giving it a list of in the top placeholder, in this placeholder, put that name. In this placeholder, put that number. And when I run it, you can see it does what it says. It puts the things in the right places. That is using the string format method. I personally think that this method is a little bit cumbersome. It's a little bit more precise, and it also has some convenient shorthand that allows you to do things like this. Okay, so I don't have to name those if I want. I can just put 0 and 1. When you're starting a list in programming languages, you start with 0. So indexes are always 0, then 1, and then I just tell it which variables to put in there. That's less precise and still kind of cumbersome, to be honest with you. So that is how string format works. And it also allows me to do things. I can put extra code in here. We're not going to do this yet, but I'll show this to you down the road. But it allows you to put extra code inside these curly braces that will allow you to do things like change things to a decimal format, or force something to be 3 decimals long or 2 decimals long, or you can change things to a different date format. There's a lot of different formatting options that allow you some control over those things, and it's all done on the fly. The nice thing about this is that this stays a number, which converting it to a string is not a good strategy, because then I have two variables that symbolize the same thing, and I have to keep those constantly in sync. So if this was something other than age, if this was something that changed on a regular basis, or it was like student test score in a gradebook app or something like that, and this changed all the time, it would be a real pain for me to have two variables representing this, that every time I change this, then I have to go change another variable. And if they get out of sync, it's going to cause me issues. So I have one variable, I keep that information where it's supposed to be, and then I can just print it using format. I don't like this method as much. So the way I like to use to format strings